Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Tonight on Houselights, we're covering Something's Gotta Give from 2003, in which Nancy Meyers asks, what happens when a 63-year-old man who has spent his entire adult life dating women under 30 has a heart attack in the Hamptons and has to be nursed back to health by the mother of the woman he came there to sleep with? The answer is that Diane Keaton wins an Oscar nomination, and Jack Nicholson is essentially forced at metaphorical gunpoint to develop an interior life. With me, fully channeling his inner sleaze, completely certain he can charm his way through this podcast, and already planning the exit, John Mills. And bringing nothing but his swimsuit, frustrated he can't go for a dip with his main squeeze without his mother calling the cops, Darren Moser. Something's Gotta Give is a movie where the Hamptons beach house has better lighting than most people's wedding photos, where Keanu Reeves plays a doctor who is also in love with Diane Keaton, and the film expects you to just roll with it, and where Nicholson spends 2 hours being punished for being himself, which Meyers frames as a love story. The crying scene laps itself like Boon to Eve, and the kitchen alone probably costs more than my house. This is Houselights.
Wow, what an opening. What an opening. And I gotta say, I thank you for calling out the lighting in this Hamptons magical fairy tale castle on the beach, because boy howdy, yes, it's lit better. It's lit better than I'm defined better, lit better, brighter. It's definitely more, it's clearer. Very, very, very
yeah,
clear.
It's not natural is basically what I'm trying to say.
No. That's true. Like the dark side of the force. It's very unnatural.
It helps that everything in the house is white. They probably just had to shoot a light up at the ceiling and it just bounced and lit everything.
The entire house is a bounce card. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
this was, again, we're continuing our Nancy Meyers house, and this was written, produced, and directed by her. It was released in 2003. It's 128 minutes, rated PG-13, budget of $80 million, worldwide gross of 266. So this was not a flop. Keaton received a nomination, which we talked about, and Nicholson received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy. That category still makes me laugh.
Yeah.
But one thing that really kind of struck a chord with me was Meyers wrote this movie following her divorce from filmmaker Charles Shire, her longtime collaborator. You know, they had written and produced together for nearly, I think, 2 decades. And, you know, this film is about a woman who rebuilt her life after a bad marriage and is now inconveniently falling in love again and throwing herself into her work by creating, these are not unrelated facts.
Right.
To what's going on.
You should always write what you know.
Myers is clearly working some stuff out with this movie.
Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. And I think that I'm definitely not, I'll preface everything by saying I'm definitely not the target audience for this movie. I recognize that going in. I knew it going in, but I'm always ready to be surprised and delighted. You never know what's actually going to resonate with you. And I think that this is a really interesting movie from the standpoint that there's so many pieces that come together but not like a puzzle. It's like putting tools in a toolbox. These things all belong in the toolbox, but it doesn't form anything. It's their pieces, and they're related to each other. They're all things that I would use for similar tasks, but I don't see any cohesion in this thing. It feels very episodic in a sense, where it's like, okay, this is the thing that's happening. This is the next thing that's happening. This is the next thing that's happening. And it's not really, there's no through line to it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, yes, Keaton has a through line, but I'm saying like the events are, they just don't come together. I'm not saying that, like, you know, obviously Keanu Reeves ties in and Jack Nicholson's character ties in. I'm not saying that it's like not competently written.
Yeah.
Are you trying to say flow. Like it feels like a series of vignettes rather than
Yes. That is what I'm trying to say.
Cohesive movie.
Yes, it feels like a streaming series that got recut into a movie.
Man, if this was made today, this would be a season of television.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
6 episodes. Easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard that this had a kind of sitcom-y vibe to it. And not just for the vignette-ness, but there's a lot of plot gymnastics that happen, especially early on in this movie, to create this exact scenario of why Jack Nicholson is in this house for a prolonged amount of time. And just, all sorts of, like, why the doctor's there, why the daughter's there, all of these things. I mean, we say, mental gymnastics, but this is only could have been written because I don't feel life would naturally coalesce. They really tried, but once they get you over that first hurdle, once they get over the first hurdle of why he's even staying there, you can kind of swallow it. That's the hardest hurdle to get over because you're like, no, just go home. In real life, he would just go home. He would not stay there. But
it's so true because this man's super wealthy, as is everybody in every Nancy Meyers film. Everybody's affluent, everybody's wealthy, everybody's successful. And so he has people who could wait on him hand and foot. He could easily go to a hotel in the area and just have his assistant do everything and get everything for him and have the nurse go there. And also, what a terrible doctor Keanu Reeves is. I work in healthcare. If you're passing out as you're exiting the hospital, you're not leaving that hospital. I don't care who you are. Like, as a doctor, you wouldn't say, like, okay, promise me this. No, screw you.
The doctor doesn't like lawsuits, nor does the hospital. The doctor could be like, well, I'll send you home. And a hospital administrator comes running out of those double doors like, whoa, no. I struggle with this movie. I think that one of the things that I think, Darren, I like that you said sitcom quality to it. It does because you nailed it. This doesn't feel like real life works this way because it doesn't. And I'm going to just absolutely zero in and nitpick something that's so stupid to focus in on. But the fact that they make Jack Nicholson like the head of a hip hop record label bothered me so much. Not for any racial aspect or anything like that, but it felt so unnecessary. It felt like, well, why would a young lady like him? They like the hip hop. He should run a hip hop label. And I'm like, that is the most insane contrivance. The falling over in the parking lot, insane contrivance. Why he's there, all of this stuff. And you throw all of these things at me. And the thing I'm fixated on is like, why did it have to be a hip hop label? That's just so unnecessary right here. And that for some reason is the thing that really, that's the point at which I sort of like started branching off. And it was just this slow separation from the rest of the movie for me. I don't know why. It's just me.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Nicholson is playing Nicholson in this movie. And, that's not a knock. It works for a lot of people, a lot of actors, a lot of characters. Like you go see a Hugh Grant film, you know exactly who you're going to get. You go see, it's not like Johnny Depp or Gary Oldman, it's Jack Nicholson can be a variety of different people, but the kind of performance that you're going to get from Nicholson. Like he's not going to go outside of himself. It's going to be just versions of Nicholson. Again, not a knock. And this movie, apparently Meyers wrote this character specifically for Nicholson. She's like, this is going to be Jack Nicholson. And she wrote Diane Keaton's role for Diane Keaton. And how great is that? Where like when you're writing a script and you're like, this is going to be Nicholson, this is going to be Keaton. And then you have the sway to make that happen. And she said that when she called up Jack Nicholson, he always said, he said on the phone call, I've always wanted to be in a tuxedo comedy. And it's like a throwback reference to the classic Hollywood screwball comedies and things like that. And Meyers described it as one of the greatest phone calls of her life, talking with Nicholson. And she said that instead of fighting the smirking courtside at the Lakers version of himself, they just rolled with it. They're like, this is going to be the guy. There's a reason why you get Jack Nicholson for this role. And so they're just leaned into it. And you could see that. Darren, do you think that was a benefit to the movie, or do you think it was a detriment because you're only seeing Nicholson?
No, I think it works. For me, I mean, I've seen a lot of Nicholson movies, but not really in this genre, in the kind of romance genre. And so, yeah, it was kind of enjoyable, like seeing, I got it. I understood, like John said, like why people go for this. Like he can turn on the charm. Like he's in, and you buy it, because we've seen many movies where the chemistry does not work and you're like, no, this person is terrible. It's like he rides that line of, he's not a terrible person, but he's also kind of an ass. Like, but you just kind of let him get away with it a little bit as the plot dictates, but in a different way than like Mel Gibson was in What Women Want. Like that was a different kind of situation. So I think, I mean, like you said, to have it written for these two great actors, it comes across so well. Like they have the chemistry there. I will say I did not understand the crying. That was the only part that kind of took me out, where like a switch was flipped and now every shot is a crying shot. And I don't, it felt really fake. I didn't understand it, but that's just
okay.
me.
That's really funny that you bring that up, because that's probably my favorite part of the movie, is that crying scene, because it is so fake. And I think it's very much a wink to the audience. That's how I took it. It's very much like, you know, like Keaton's hamming it up. Like it's supposed to be overwrought. It's supposed to be melodramatic. It's supposed to be, what's the term I'm looking for? It's supposed to be silly. It's supposed to be
it's like her heart's on her sleeve. We see exactly what she's meant to be feeling.
She's acting like a, she's acting like a teenager going through a breakup, even though she's almost 60. And it's almost like an Anchorman bit, but in a rom-com. And so to me, I thought it was funny because it was very self-aware. But I can completely understand how that couldn't land for certain people. I completely get it. John, I have a question for you while I give Darren some homework. Darren, can you look up who was nominated and who won that year for Best Actress at the Oscars? John, my question to you is, what do you think of Diane Keaton in this role? And was it Oscar worthy? If so, why? Why not?
Okay. That's always the thing we're always talking about. You know, my criteria for an Oscar or an award nomination is I cannot see this film working without this person in this role, right? Keaton, do I see anybody else playing this role as well as she does here? I guess since it's written for her, no. The cadence of her character leans into the strengths of Diane Keaton as an actress. And does that make it award worthy? Maybe, but it's one of those things where it's incredibly difficult to argue for it, because there's also that weight that goes along with Oscar nomination of this is like a transformative role. There's an unfair sort of metric given. So I would say at the baseline, can I see anybody else play this role as well? I can see other people play the role differently. I can see the movie working with that, but can I see anybody playing Diane Keaton playing this role as well? No. Just like I can't see somebody playing William Shatner playing Captain Kirk. You know, you can have Captain Kirk, but you can't have somebody playing William Shatner playing Captain Kirk. That's William Shatner playing Captain Kirk. So I guess I'm kind of threading the needle, but there was nothing exceptional about the performance to me, but I would be wrong not to give it credit for being what this film asked of her.
Yeah.
Now, Darren,
I can see that.
who was nominated that year?
So for 2003 Oscars, the nominations were Naomi Watts from 21 Grams, Samantha Morton from In America, Diane Keaton from Something's Gotta Give, Keisha Castle Hughes from Whale Rider, which I remember them making a joke about her having like 3 names as such a young actress, and Charlize Theron for Monster, who won the Oscar.
Ooh,
Deservedly so. Did you guys ever see Monster?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I've seen all of those, and probably, no disrespect to Miss Keaton, but out of all of those, she was probably the weak link. Am I alone in that? I guess it doesn't really matter at this point.
It's interesting because, like, looking at the list, I had to do a double check that this was for Best Actress, because a lot of these roles kind of felt of the caliber of like supporting actress, but just that it's not how the plot went. I don't know. It's an interesting year, as it always is.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, ultimately, it's one of those silly things where, you know, there are thousands of movies released every year, and the odds are actually pretty high that there are so many award-worthy performances out there that just never get noticed for one reason or another. You know, and everything comes down to so much stuff. And I think that you'd have to be blind not to look at, Oscar nominations sometimes given as an acknowledgement of somebody, and sometimes even Oscar wins can be seen. Now, well, of course, an award is an acknowledgement of somebody, but like sort of like they're not going to win it, or even if they win it, like, I would always go back to when Pacino did not win for Godfather Part 2, and, Art Carney won for like Harry and Tonto. And it was like, really, guys? But, he was what were the odds that he was going to have another film sort of thing? But like, I'm not saying that again to throw shade on Keaton, but like the awards stuff is so weird. Like for me to acknowledge something readily as, oh, that's an award that's an award-winning performance, I would fall on the side of Monster, of like that film. Like, it blew me away that was Charlize Theron. Like, I couldn't believe that was her. And it was
a transformation.
I lost her. In this, I'm seeing Diane Keaton play Diane Keaton, a Diane Keaton role, I should say, throughout the film. Like there's a difference there for me.
One thing, kind of jumping off of that note, so do you guys know who the composer was for this movie?
No, not offhand. I don't.
It's Hans Zimmer.
Well, color me what?
Little known, composer. Might have heard of him. Might have seen his work.
This is post Lion King, post Gladiator, post Thin Red Line, post Black Hawk Down, post Last Samurai.
He needed a breather. He wanted to do something where,
this
fewer
reeks.
drums.
This reeks of Zimmer intern. There's a long open secret in Hollywood that Zimmer outsources his lesser projects to his team members. And he goes whole hog for Dune, but then he brings in other composers that it's like basically ghostwriting, but under his banner.
Like Stephen King and his later novels?
Yeah, like King's later novels, or Patterson. That's what I was thinking of. Patterson's novels. Okay. Yeah, like reeks of ghostwriter. Do you guys remember a single note from this movie?
Not even one. Not even accidentally. It's one of those things where I'm fairly certain there was music, but I don't know when the hell it happened.
I mean, actually thinking about it for a second, I can kind of vaguely remember the elevator music, and you know what I mean, like that kind of like do 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 do, like that background music that's playing as they're around the house and getting into shenanigans. Like, the movie was just full of that type of music. It's like light and it's airy, but you can't remember what it sounds like, but you kind of vaguely remember.
Oh, I know what it sounds like. It sounds like a wealthy person who has a home in the Hamptons and the type of music that they play. That's what it sounds like. And it's look, again, I fixated on Nicholson being the head of a hip hop label and everything like that bothers me. But there's a style of living in this film that puts more distance between me and it, specifically because there is a certain affectation with a lifestyle where I'm like, the people that are represented and that you're talking to, anybody that's like nodding their head like, yeah, oh, this is like that time. I'm like, most of the audience that sits down for this is not seeing a lifestyle that they'll ever touch. So there's a huge element of fantasy for them. And I know that this was a successful film, but I think this is like a fantastical movie situation for people, like the type of life that you would lead. But it's written by somebody who's had the good fortune to taste some of that. And that's sort of that's what the music, but also like the in-film music, like La Vie en Rose playing in the background all the time, and Eartha Kitt songs and like that sort of stuff, like playing in the background. Like this movie very much feels like a party I'm uncomfortable at because I just want to go have a hamburger sort of thing. And it's that. I know that's a weird tangent to go on, but I think that's another reason that I think this movie is a little difficult for me to plug into.
And I feel like that's a problem with Meyers overall. Like there is that disconnect. There is that problem. Like when everything can be solved with, you know what? Oh, she's in Paris. I'm going to go to Paris real quick. Or like I'm going to hop on the Concorde and make this happen. It's difficult to connect.
It happens a lot. Like the immediateness of the ultra wealthy to just do whatever they want. And like last minute trip to Paris, like today. He left today. He left that exact same day he heard she was in Paris and got there as soon because he could. Because he just I just sold all my companies and I got a lot of money. Like, we're not throwing the word millionaire around, but we are. Like,
oh yeah. I found out that laying on a beach in the Bahamas getting drunk wasn't for me. So I decided to truly challenge myself. And it's like, well, you're living. Wait, you decided that after 6 hours that the life that people would literally murder half of their street for is not for you? Oh, well, good for you. I'm so happy to hear that. That's wonderful. Go work on yourself. That's great. Yeah, sorry. I like, again, that's the fantasy aspect. That's what I find a movie like this to be fascinating, is that it's fantasy without people acknowledging it as literally fantasy. They might as well be living in a world with dragons and horses that can talk and stuff like that. Like, this is as fantastical as that, but it has the veneer of materials that exist in the world. Therefore, we're like, oh, well, this is happening in real life. Like, that's, in a sense, it's almost like a huge compliment to the movie, because I'm like, you made a fantasy film. That's awesome. Like, this is literally no different than watching an enchanted princess in a castle sort of thing. And it's just, that's kind of, you know what? I think I might have just found a way to like the movie more by coming at it from that angle. All right, cool. I like this. I like it when this happens on the show. That's a positive.
The princess walks along the beach every day, gathering seashells as she scrolls her memoirs. It's like, yeah, same thing.
And on top of that, I would say that most playwrights don't live a pampered life like that. A lot of them do not.
Oh my gosh. And also, like, okay, so when we're driving in and Amanda Peet says to Jack Nicholson, like, when he said, he's like, how rich is she? She's like, well, if she, or something along the lines, like, if she lives within a mile here, she's rich. And she's like, that's what happens writing a hit play. But in that moment, they don't preface that she's a lifelong playwright. And so when she just said a hit play, I'm like, no, you do not get a house in the Hamptons after you write a hit play.
Yeah. Rodgers and Hammerstein didn't quit after one, honey. They
like, unless you're Lin-Manuel Miranda with Hamilton, you are not
and
living in the Hamptons after one hit play.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So 20th Century Fox was the original distributor of this film, but they passed because they felt like it wasn't bankable because everyone was too old. And they clearly were wrong.
I mean, old people don't go to the movies, obviously.
But okay, here's the thing. I want to ask you guys this question. One of my favorite shows of all time is Boston Legal.
Denny
Crane. And one of the reasons why it was canceled is because ABC felt like there wasn't enough young blood on it, that there was way too, like the Candice Bergen, William Shatner, John Larroquette. They felt like these were the three main people of the show, not including, the main character of Alan Shore. But they felt like, like there's too many old people on the screen. These got to be young folks. And they even wrote it into the storyline when they broke the fourth wall about it. And it's honestly, it's really sad to me because I don't need to see everybody who's 22. Not everybody needs to be 26. Not everybody has to be 17. Like, let's see people in multiple stages of life all throughout life. And with that in mind, do you think this movie would have worked if it was with younger people and like somebody was just going through some sort of medical condition or something?
Nope.
Tell me why.
I'll take first swing. It doesn't work specifically because it's way too boring. Any amount of interest that I have in this film is in the fact that it shows that universality of emotional difficulty that people go through, that it's not relegated just to youth when you're having questions about your purpose, your heart, your love, how you've lived your life. Young people get so far up their own keister that, oh, well, boy, did I sound like an old guy there, that, where they think they're the only ones that are living these deeply examined lives where they're looking at it. I was a young man once. I know this to be true, but it shows that like, even when you're in your 50s or your 60s or whatever, you're still having those same questions. You're still a human being. And I think the movie is interesting specifically because it shows people who are so advanced in their careers, their lives, that younger people would look at them and say, oh, well, they've been through it all and they've got it all figured out. And it's saying, no, nobody's got it figured out. Everybody's still just trying to figure where they're going and what they're doing from this point forward. So I don't think this works with younger people at all.
No, and I like the fact that it is set after her divorce. It is not like, oh, they're having trouble, and then Jack Nicholson's character comes in and, oh, look, I'm going to leave my husband. No, that has nothing to do with him. It happened. It's part of her life and her history, and she still works with the guy, which is still kind of weird. But, you have that, and yeah, it would not be interesting at all if it was, oh, here's two young .com millionaires who, because back then that's what would have gotten them the money, and they're just trying to figure out love. That's all we got to figure out. We figured out the money thing. Now we got to figure out the love thing. It's like, no, the pause that they give as they're thinking things, the way they talk to each other, the way they're trying to figure it out is really interesting, because not a lot of movies do that, because not a lot of movies are set in this, stage of life. But, you're right. No one watches old people. Golden Girls. Nobody watched that. It was a terrible show. No, terrible ratings. No.
I think that a thing that does show Fox's ridiculous miscalculation and Sony's wisdom in release timing is the fact that this was a December movie. And this is exactly the type of thing where you're coming up on the holidays and it's like, you want to go to the movies. You look at this and there's a baseline where you're in the holidays and maybe the kids want to go see the new Star Wars or something like that. But mom and dad can go off and go see this movie, or even the older kids can go with you or something like that, where it's like you're actually appealing to an audience that is sometimes feeling a little ignored. And release timing is key to success. And I think Sony absolutely knew right when to release this. You release this in summer, it gets slaughtered. You release this in February, it's forgotten. You release this around Christmas. Oh, it's that Diane Keaton, Jack Nicholson movie. Let's go see that. And even if one of the people in the relationship, say a me in the relationship, doesn't want to go see it, it's like, how bad could it be? right? At the,
Right.
then she'll be happy. Fine, I'll go. Like, I know I feel like I'm sort of like being crass with it, but seriously, like Sony saw how to play this way smarter than obviously Fox did. And it's like, it's a shame that Fox couldn't figure that one out. I think this is a no-brainer. If I'm the head of a studio, I'm picking this up and I'm doing exactly what Sony did. I'm releasing this right in December. Awesome, guys. We got a shot at this.
Well, and it's interesting because I remembered, 2003. I remember another movie that came out in 2003. A matter of weeks before this was Love Actually, which I think definitely, while it does have a lot of different stories and some are older people, not as old as, Jack Nicholson, I don't think. But yeah, that is definitely the younger demographic.
I get that. Liam Neeson in his 20s, just the...
All right. I'm not saying all, but it has more plot lines with younger people in it. That's all I'm saying.
Spry chicken Alan Rickman too.
Hugh Grant as an 18-year-old.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm just seeing all these. It's basically a high school film at this point.
Yeah, Well, wait a minute. Oh, so wait a minute. Was this? So that was right around the same time as like Matrix Revolutions, then, right?
I think that was also 03, yeah. But I
Wasn't
think Matrix was a summer, I would assume.
For some reason, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Well, now that we're talking about Matrix, let's talk about Keanu Reeves here. Okay. I'm a big Keanu Reeves fan.
He's better than this.
He's better than this. Okay. He's handsome. You could
True.
see him playing a doc. I don't even want to say that out loud, but I can't put my finger on it. Why does this not work?
Because the role is so bland that not even a competent actor like Reeves can figure out exactly what to do with it. And he's obviously a very skilled actor waiting for his director to tell him how to make this interesting. He is, I think it was Ebert called him like a walking plot contrivance or something like that, or a plot complication or something.
Yeah.
And it's this character exists only to give Diane Keaton the opportunity to leave him at the end. And honestly, that is actually one of the things that I think doesn't work about the movie is there was a brief moment at the end where I thought she was going to go off. I believed, she's going to go off with him, and Jack Nicholson will really have learned his lesson. He's crying. It felt, I don't think this is what happened. I have nothing to back this up. It really felt like a reshoot. It really felt like she left him. She went off with Keanu Reeves. He went off to the bridge to deal with his sadness. And then audiences were like, no, we want to see them get back together. This
You
ending
can't have the
is
two
so
leads
contrived.
not get together.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can see that. I
Just
mean,
like in
the
What
same
Women
thing.
Want.
Yeah. The same thing with Reeves is like, it felt like his character did not exist when he was not on screen. Like he vanished
Right.
into the ether. And then
That's
you
a
kind of
beautiful way
forgot
to put it.
that he was there until it was like, we need him to be on a date. He's waiting for the date. And then we see him again. And we're like, oh, that's right. He's in this movie. And then he's gone again. Like that's how I think it felt. It was definitely one of those. And again, he's trying. He's putting his heart into it. But it's so interesting because they're putting so much depth into Keaton and Nicholson's role that the shallowness in the plot and the story on Keanu's is so striking. Like this isn't even a love triangle. This is like a love, it doesn't even make a triangle because it's it's like you're there there's a line between the two leads and you're pulling it down, but you're not making a triangle. You're just disrupting it slightly.
I would actually say that because of the way it works, he actually pulls it up so that it's a frown. So it's because
look, something's got to give. Okay, something's got to give.
Darren wins the day. Well done, sir. No, I do.
No.
I think I completely agree with the way you're stating it, and it makes me think of another character that just doesn't seem to serve any real purpose, which is Frances McDormand's character, where I'm like, why is she even? Why is her sister here? It's like she's just there, and it's like
I didn't mind her.
I did.
I felt like it needed that character because that gives a closer in age sister encouragement, which I think I'd rather have than the young daughter that was also kind of dating this guy encouragement. I don't know. It did feel like another. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, but I would say in response to that it's just that the movie, the script backed itself into a corner, and it's like, I need this other character. So yeah, okay, it exists. And I think it's no different than Keanu Reeves' character, where when she would show up, I was like, oh, right, her. She exists.
There's even a scene where they both show up in the same scene to bring each other back into the plot.
Yes.
Look what I found for you at the farmer's market. It's literally both the side characters rallying to be relevant again.
Well, I mean, and I think that there's another aspect to that doesn't work for me, which is the fact that Diane Keaton is such a prize to him that he's been pining away, so that when he accidentally runs across her sister at a farmer's market, he's like, yeah, I'm like, what? No, he's a young doctor. If something falls through and he gets stood up at a date, he's definitely in the dating
He'll be
pool.
okay.
Yeah, he's going to be like, well, that didn't work. And he's going to move on. He's not, that's just, it's one of those things where, again, it gets back to that whole idea of like, it's a bunch of pieces, vignettes, but they don't all work together. Like they're it's just sort of a jumble.
Now, but let's circle back to Nancy Meyers, because we've seen 3 movies. So I'm starting to feel or notice some kind of threads between them, like the way, your main characters are. We're going to see some similarities next week, just so you guys know. Like, I think even Hans Zimmer comes back. So we're dipping into that well again. But yeah, I feel from, the parents and the Parent Trap to, Mel Gibson to Jack Nicholson, she has this style for sure of, I think we'll say, super rich people who have to figure out how to live in a family. I don't know. It's an interesting take.
I think her style, I'll piggyback off what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and I'll piggyback off it and say that a lot of her characters feel like inventions as opposed to people. And it is a thing it can work. It works in The Parent Trap because it's a Disney movie. Movie, I go in remake. And I'm like, this is just a weird fantasy sort of thing. This would never happen. I'm accepting from the beginning that this is just fantasy. What women want, I mean, like Mel Gibson's character doesn't ever feel like he's actually actualized in any way. All of the situations are like, everything feels very constructed. This is a constructed reality as opposed to a lived reality.
I think you nailed it. I think it's a fantasy. All of these are fantasies. I never once think that these stories are, this kind of maybe is what Nancy Meyers lived through in her youth, and that is why she wrote this movie. No, none of these are that kind of, which is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. That there's place for fantasy in our movies. It's just, there just happens to not be castles and dungeons and princesses. It's just modern day fantasy.
It's doctors and hip hop record execs and playwrights. Yeah.
You're again, wait till next week, guys. We're drinking from the same well.
Oh no. I'm the only one that hasn't. Oh boy. Okay.
All right. Let's wrap it up. I really want to know. I'm gonna break with tradition. John, how many fake heart attacks? How many anxiety-inducing panic attacks are you giving this film that doctors should be more aware of what's going on?
I'm giving it a very generous 2. And the reason for that generous 2 is because Meyers had the sense to write for and cast people who worked in what they were given, who knew what they were doing. This is going to sound terrible the way I put it, but her wisdom here is casting people that she didn't really need to direct. And that's the reason the movie doesn't fall apart. And so her 2 leads are so experienced, are so naturally gifted in screen performance that they can just carry it through. And she can show up and make sure that everything's lit right and the camera's working and the DP is getting stuff done and all of that type of stuff. But there's nothing. What's disappointing to me is there's nothing inspired here. This is written as a way for her to work through and purge feelings that she has. But I never feel like I touch on those feelings. And I think the fundamental flaw is because it feels like Jack Nicholson is the main character at certain points. And Diane Keaton is the one I should care about. I should be introduced to her first. I should be given more of her story first. I should be given more of everything first with her. But then you can't set up the Nicholson love story thing as easily or whatever. But I never connected with these characters, but it's not incompetently made. It's not something where I'm like, oh, these people don't even know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It just didn't work. So 2.
Darren, how about you?
I'm giving it a 3. I think it definitely scored better than What Women Want for me. And at the end, I did care about the characters. Like I was curious about what was going to happen to them, barring the crying, which just took me out of it. But yeah, I wanted to see how this played out. And I think when a movie can do that, it's definitely, I will probably watch this again, and to re-enjoy now that I know the story, the characters. Again, I think Nicholson's performance is really good. Not like Oscar-worthy good, but he's carrying that character, and it doesn't toe the line past into a caricature. I can buy it. Which I enjoy. So I'm giving it 3 rocks off the beach. You can decide if they're black or white.
I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to give this a 2.5. This is kind of on the same level as What Women Want for me. Like, there's some really interesting moments, and there are parts that genuinely make me laugh. But overall, it could be a whole lot shorter. It could be a whole lot tighter. You could utilize the time better. This, I feel like the scene where we see Jack Nicholson's butt through the gown goes on 3 times as long as it needs to, and it starts off really funny, and then it gets less funny, and then you're like, wow, this is going on for a long time, and then it moves on to that wasn't funny. I feel like that scene is a microcosm of the movie and its structure from scene to scene. And that there needed to be a script doctor. There needed to be either a script doctor or a better editor, or an editor that could stand up to Meyers a little bit better. But that's hard when it's a writer, producer, and director. So I'm saying 2.5. That's where I'm at. Darren, what are we doing next week?
Next week, we'll be wrapping up the House of Nancy Meyers with 2006's The Holiday. Guess where our characters are going? Next on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the nerd party.